Hello. Welcome to another exciting session here at Jubix on our regular workshops. It's nice to have everyone here. My name is Abusu Aliuma. I'm a front-end engineer, but here at Jubix, I work as a team lead for marketing. I'm here joined by my partner, Amel, and she can go ahead and introduce herself.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Amel Khiri from Algeria. I'm a full stack developer here at Jubix and also a part of the sales and marketing team. So let's start by having some informations about our agency with our great Busua.
Okay, so Jubix has been a very transformational and impactful journey for me. I have grown professionally and worked with an amazing team. At Jubix, we believe in the spirit of diversity and teamwork. Welcome to our rebrand of the Global Tech Sprint Leadership Program, GTLP, which currently 80% of our participants have gotten jobs and further opportunities for being promoted and referred. We have one of our MT members from Ghana who is now in Canada, and another member who is set to be in the US. So, as you can see, we are making global impact. The Global Tech Sprint Leadership Recruitment Agency, GTLR, in our program, our participants in our agency are referred to as sprinters and get awarded with a leadership award based on contribution and commitment. Jubix is a trio of three main products: the GTLR, Jumit, and Momo Code, Game Over. The GTLRA leads with transparency and shared learning to provide the world with a diversified recruitment agency that advocates for inclusive change across all markets to shared financial equity across platforms. Our mission is to provide this service internationally, both within and outside schools and universities, in order to drive innovation, shared knowledge, and facilitate cross border leadership, therefore, paving the way for a brighter and more interconnected future. Brace yourself to hear more of our exciting products. I would now like to hand you over to Benson and Tom to share more of our Jubix application.
Thank you very much, Busiwa. That was a wonderful introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Daniel Udo. I am a full stack web developer from Nigeria. I'm currently an intern software developer here at Jubix. And tonight we are going to show you around our workshop, Constructive Critique, the backbone of thriving organization. So I have been an intern here at Jubix for about 3 months, and it has been a wonderful experience to work globally and remotely with experts. I am currently on the video team. I work back end there, and my colleague here, Benson, works on the front end. And today we bring this workshop to you. Benson, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Tom. That was amazing. Hello, guys. My name is Benson Jiguna Kamau. I am a software developer here at Jubix. More specifically, I focus on the front end, but of course, I do have skills in the back end. My tech stack focuses on JavaScript, TypeScript, React. We have Ruby and Ruby on Rails. But for the databases and all that, I use Postgres SQL. Thank you for being with us this day. Here at Jubix, it is an amazing company. It is an amazing family. And we have learned a lot since we began. So stick to your seats, listen to us attentively as we go through the workshop on constructive critique. So, which is the backbone of thriving organizations. Listen attentively as we build a culture of providing feedback. Tom, take us through.
Thank you very much, Benson. Uh, I want to say a warm welcome to the Jubix workshop we have today on the title Constructive Critique, the backbone of a thriving organization. Building a culture of feedback. I'd love you to sit back, relax, and listen because we have a lot for you today on this topic. All right, so let's start with what constructive critique is. Constructive critique, in very simple terms, you could say is feedback, but a feedback that's structured in a way that will improve whoever the feedback is given to. It is given in a helpful, insightful way in order to promote the development and growth of whoever we're giving the feedback to. Because at the end, we want a positive outcome. So I would also like to add that constructive critique, from the word critique, it's criticism, but structured in a way to bring out a positive outcome. Now, what are the importance of this? Why is constructive criticism important? And most importantly, how does it benefit us as an organization? Now, as seen on the slide, it enhances performance, it reduces conflict, increases engagement, it brings about innovation in a company, and of course, organizational growth among a few. Now, these are importance of constructive criticism, and we've known what it is, why it's important. Now, in this workshop, we will take you through just the definition and its importance. We are going to consider effective feedback skills. How do you offer these criticisms in an effective way? How do you make this a culture in an organization, making this something that is regular? You keep it as a culture. And third, what if conflict arises from this? How are you to resolve this and the techniques behind doing that? And lastly, the leadership role in giving feedback. So let's dive right into it. Why does it matter? Why does constructive criticism matter? Well, the benefits are so much. First, we'll talk about the benefits as individual teams. Now, in an organization, now the world is moving, and most companies or most organizations, services are going online. They're working remotely. Mind you, this also relates to those working in offices. It's really important. So, considering that we work as teams everywhere in the world, remotely or physically, we want to talk about the benefit of constructive critique as teams and as individuals. First of all, personal growth. Constructive critique helps individual identify their strength, weakness, and of course, enabling personal development and skill.
Apologies for that. Seems my colleague is facing some technical difficulties, but no issue. We've got this covered. So I would like to proceed and sort of continue from where he left off. Then once he joins us, we will continue together. All right. So thank you for that. So my colleague was talking about the benefits and why does constructive critique actually matter. So he was talking about personal growth. Personal growth is all about if you receive feedback, you actually try to improve yourself and make yourself grow to standards that people can admire. So if I give you feedback on your code needs to be improved, you will actually move on and take steps moving forward to improve your coding skills. Improved performance. If you receive this particular feedback and you work in the desired direction, you are actually able to improve your performance, because if someone gave you some constructive feedback, that is aimed to actually improve you in a way to a certain standard that is acceptable to the rest, and that makes the other people comfortable in what they do in relation to what you do. There is enhanced communication. Now, you give someone feedback, they receive it and give you a response back. Constructive feedback is provided in a way that once you give someone feedback, later on they are going to come back to you and ask you, at least if they're sensible and would like to improve, they will come back to you and tell you or ask you, did I meet the expectations that you had of me? Did I improve in the areas that gave me feedback on? So that is actually enhancing the communication. For example, another example will be, if I give you feedback and you became silent, then at that particular point there is no communication. Or for example, you did something, whatever you did wronged me in a certain way. I felt bad about it, but I never communicated about that. So that actually limits communication. But if I give you feedback and tell you, you did this and this, but if you had done this and this, then I would have felt much better. At that particular point, we are enhancing the communication and ensuring that we are not silent at that particular, we are not like muted or silent to one another. We create stronger relationships. One thing that I've actually realized, and this I believe applies to everyone, is when you're silent about what hurts you from the other person, then you sort of try to avoid them. If you avoid them, you are not strengthening your relationships. You are actually making the relationships weaker, because as you avoid them, the bond between you guys stretches away and you sort of become aliens to one another. Another benefit to individuals and teams is collective success. If I give you feedback, assuming that we are in the same company, for example, we are here at Jubix, we provide each other with feedback constantly. This feedback is aimed at improving you. For starters, it's aimed at improving you directly. Once you improve, you're going to increase your performance. If you increase your performance, probably it's all about the code. You make your code better. We as your team members are also going to benefit from your improvement, because if who doesn't like good code, right? And as they say, good code is not something feasible, but you can see, I mean, a degree where you improve your code to a certain degree that is acceptable, and people are able to understand it even much better. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, we might stay here on this particular workshop giving you all about the importances, the benefits of this particular feedback. But let's just focus on some statistics, right? So here are some statistics for you. 65% of employees desire more feedback. So after receiving feedback, they actually want more. For example, if I was to give feedback to someone, later on they will come and say, you gave me feedback on a certain thing, I improved on it. Did I meet the expectations? They actually require more feedback. Companies that invest in regular employee feedback have 14% lower turnover rates than organizations where employees do not receive feedback. This is actually referring to the lower turnover rates means the rate at which employees leave the company, and the company has to look for other employees. That is sort of a general idea of what the turnover rates mean. So by giving feedback, you reduce the turnover rates by 14.9%. 4 out of 10 of employees who receive little to no feedback are actively disengaged from their work. This is actually referring to people who don't receive any feedback, or they receive very little feedback. At that particular point, it actually means that they are going to be disengaged in their work, meaning that they don't actually participate that much. They are slow to responding to issues. If something comes up, they are slow to respond to that. That is the kind of disengagement that we are referring to. For example, I like giving a lot of examples in code because I'm a software developer. But yeah, so assuming that you have a team of developers, you don't have that opportunity or that environment for giving each other feedback. If you don't give each other feedback, how else would you know that person A is doing what is expected. How else would I know that I'm doing what is expected? So I'm going to be disengaged. Probably I'll just do the bare minimum and then submit it because I know no one is going to complain. No one is going to give me feedback or something. Mind you, complaint is also feedback, but it is a negative type of feedback. 69% of employees say they would work harder if they felt their efforts were being recognized through feedback. So recognizing people actually makes them want to work even more or work even harder. 43% of highly engaged employees receive feedback at least once a week. Now, these are some of just a bit of the statistics that we are sharing with you. 98% of employees disengage from their work when they receive little or no feedback. So you can actually see that people disengage a lot if they don't receive any feedback. Here's just a table, or you could call it a table or a chart. So this is actually showing you some of the benefits of feedback, or giving you a visual statistics on what are the effects and benefits of feedback. Take people who receive feedback, 85% of them take more initiative. That means that if you give someone feedback, they are sort of like, I would like to do more. Person A told me that if I do this, I will improve. So they are going to take more initiative to make themselves fit into the bracket in which their colleagues view them. 73% become better collaborators. If you give me feedback about what I'm doing that actually sort of scratches you or presses you down, or something that is not so good to you, then at that particular time, we are actually strengthening the bond. If we strengthen the bond, I'm going to work towards ensuring that I accommodate you in a better way. If I accommodate you in a better way, we become better collaborators. 48% care more about work. So that this is actually referring to someone who has received feedback. They're going to care more about this work. As I said earlier, if you don't give me feedback, I'm going to do the bare minimum. If I do the bare minimum, the team is affected, the company is affected, and time is also lost. These are just some of the statistics. On to the next one. The relationships between employee feedback and engagement. I've talked about feedback and why it's important, but now look at this chart. 1% of employees who actually receive positive feedback will leave the company. So that, or let me put it in other words, out of all employees who disengage, 1% of them are going to disengage after receiving positive feedback. And this is probably because someone has moved on to other greater things or something. These are just statistics, and they're not really focused on why feedback is there, but they're really focused on why employees leave a company. 22% of these particular employees are going to disengage because of negative feedback. So if someone receives negative feedback, 22% of them might leave the company, but 40% of them might leave the company because they never received any feedback. This actually says that it's better to give it's better to give negative feedback than no feedback at all, but it's best to give positive feedback. Just some of the statistics for you guys to consider. So what are the benefits to the company? So we've talked about benefits to the individuals and the teams, but these particular benefits to individuals and teams actually go on to blow and become benefits to the company. We have enhanced performance. If you as an individual improve in your performance, the company also improves in its performance. Boosts innovation. If I provide you with feedback, and we create a sort of a good relation between the management, the employees, the subordinates. The team sort of becomes one. They are able to come up with ideas faster, and they are able to expound on these particular ideas and make them greater. These are some of the benefits. They are able to build stronger bonds. So we say that if you sort of iron out the issues that come in between the team members, you reduce the friction in between the team members, and you sort of create stronger bonds. It aids in professional growth. We have seen team members who have grown because they received feedback, and they so people who receive feedback, they are able to improve themselves professionally, because now you're at a position where people can relate to you better. So if you improve professionally, the company can be said to be more professional. Informed decision making. If you give others feedback, they are going to make better decisions based on the feedback that you give them. Some of these benefits, they are actually subjective. You understand them because you can relate. Now, let's move. I'm sorry, I'm not going to cover most of the slides that we had, just due to the interest of time, but I would like to get you to the gist of what we are covering today. Now, we have constructive critique. We've defined constructive critique, what it is, and we've defined the importances, the benefits to individuals, the benefits to companies. But how can we know that this particular feedback that I'm giving to person B is actually constructive? It has to have certain features. So what are some of these features? Clear communication. You have to be clear while giving feedback. You have to be transparent and avoid ambiguity. So by ambiguity, ambiguity can mean you have like these technical terms that you're trying to show the other person that you know much more than them. So at that particular point, while giving constructive feedback, you sort of need to be at the same level. By at the same level, it means you can dialogue with this person, you can tell them something, they respond. So the message response kind of a communication. You need to be specific in your feedback. Don't go around beating around the bush, as they say. You want to say that my coding skills are sort of need an improvement, but you start by going and saying, probably if you like you're sort of beating around the bush, talking about things that are not related to the feedback that you would like to give me. That will easily make me like misunderstand what you're trying to tell me. You need to focus on improvement and not blame. So basically what here we're saying is you need to focus on telling me how I can improve myself, or how I can improve based on the feedback that you've given me. So if you give me a feedback on something to do with my coding skills, then tell me how best can I improve myself. Don't blame me for something that has happened. It has already happened, mind you. So what we are looking forward to is helping me improve so that it doesn't happen sometime in the future. Now, at this particular point, my colleague Tom is back online. Hello, Tom. We've missed you. We've missed you.
Thank you very much, Benson, for taking over. I am very sorry about that. Internet connectivity here is something else. You can go ahead, Benson.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tom. So we've talked about elements of constructive critique. So clear communication, specificity in feedback, being specific, and focusing on improvement and not the blame. So if I'm talking about if I've done something, tell me how I can improve. Be specific when you tell me, and be clear. Don't murmur. Avoid the ambiguity. Tell me in words that I can easily understand. All right. Now, we might talk a lot but let's focus on how we can create this particular culture, right? We need to create a culture in which people openly give feedback. But in order to do that, we have to talk about what key aspects constructive critique involves. Leadership has a role to play in encouraging feedback. So of if you are a leader of a certain team, of a certain company, you need to be receptive to feedback. If I was, for example, let me give an example of a pseudo company. Um, and then at this particular company, I have subordinates. So these particular subordinates are going to give me feedback. I need to be open to receive that feedback. And also we need to set a common ground where I can also give feedback to my subordinates. And feedback is not orders. Feedback is actually feedback. So feedback, like I think that's wrong, explaining a word by itself. So feedback is actually saying, I'm coming to you to tell you what you did, how it affected me, and how I think you should have done it, and why I think my way of doing it would have been better. That is feedback. You have to draw a fine line to avoid complaints and to avoid blame. It is easy for someone to confuse the two. So be careful at that. Setting clear guidelines for critique. So when we are giving constructive critique, it won't be constructive if everyone can come up with his or her own rules of giving feedback. There needs to be a certain guideline, a certain way of doing things. So if for example here at Jubix, we know we have this particular culture where we have platforms to give feedback. We have structures that we need to follow to give feedback, like hierarchies that we need to follow through to give feedback. These are some of the things that could help an organization in providing feedback. Feedback needs to be open and receptive, should not be used as an avenue to complain or blame the other party. Create a safe environment for feedback. So if I was the one giving feedback to Tom, for example, and Tom is like gagey and judgmental and doesn't even want to listen to me, at that particular time, I wouldn't want to give him feedback another time. So feedback is cut at that particular level. But if we are able to create an environment where feedback is allowed and people can actually receive and give feedback, then we ensure a company that can grow, a company that can improve, and a company that is all inclusive. Now, what are the best practices in giving feedback? There are a lot of ways that you can give feedback, but there are those specific ones that we've pointed out that we think are actually really, really good. One of them is the sandwich method. So you can see from the image on the left, we have a sandwich there. So one of the buns actually, so we have two halves of a bun. It's comprising of praise, and the toppings is actually criticism. So what does this mean? Another example, you could look at it as a capsule. So a capsule is sort of insulating the bitter medicine within it. So it helps protect whoever is receiving the feedback, but you're still delivering the content. So the content, if it's a capsule, you're delivering the medicine, but if it's feedback, you're actually delivering good constructive feedback. This basically, you are sort of wrapping your criticism in praise to ensure that you maintain the relationship. Look at the image on the right, for example. We have person A giving feedback to person B. So first, person A starts by giving them praise. So the guy is all smiles. He's ready to receive the feedback or criticism that he's about to be given. Or even he doesn't know that it's criticism that's about to fall on him. Then Person A follows on to give him to criticize something that he has done, but in a constructive way. At that particular point, the guy sort of becomes sad, his face changes and all of that. But person A notices that and manages to change the mood by ending that particular feedback in praise. So by praising him at the end, the guy will now be like, oh, yeah, that's the guy I know. For example, let me give some feedback to Tom. This is an example, guys, by the way. So, hello, Tom. I would like to give you some feedback. By the way,
All right,
you've done a really job.
thank
Now,
you.
there, there's something that has been really bothering me about the code that you've been writing has not been meeting the linter standards. I
Oh,
think if you would apply this particular strategy, we can save the time in fixing these linter errors. But as I said, you do a really wonderful job in the code. Someone cannot complain while reading through the code. At this particular point, I've given Tom feedback about what he's been doing and how it has affected the team or the company. And I've moved on to tell him to praise him at the beginning and at the end, but in the middle of it, I've actually delivered the feedback that I would have liked to give him. It's not that we have complaints all the time. So just as a way to sort of get an idea, Tom, how did you feel about that particular feedback that I've given you? Hello, Tom, are you with us?
yes, I'm with you.
I was asking, how did you feel about that feedback that I've just given you? Just to give a scenario.
It was wonderful. At first, there came the praise. I felt on top of the world. And then the criticism, I wasn't really happy with it. But then at the end of it, still telling me that I still do a great job and you appreciate it made me happy in the end. That way, I believe you have given me a wonderful feedback about my work.
Thank you. But everyone can come up with his own sort of feedback to contain the criticism that you want to pass. Mind you, don't complain, don't pass blame, but tell them what they did, why you think it affected you or how it affected you, and what you think they can do to improve. And if they improve themselves, they improve the company and the team. What's the other strategy that you can use? Giving timely feedback and in private. I'm going to try and rush through these particular sections. We have two other techniques. So this is one of them. Giving timely feedback and in private. So what is timeliness mean? What does timeliness mean? If I did something, don't wait too long to give me feedback on that. If it affected you, find good ways to pass that feedback to me. Find me in private and actually deliver the feedback to me. By waiting too long, I'm going to forget the context of what I did. And if I forget and you come to give me feedback on that particular thing, I will say, this guy is giving me bad talk, or it's trying to down my spirits or something. But if you give me timely feedback, I'm going to remember, oh, I did this and this and this. And if Tom was affected by this, I need to improve. Those are some of the ways. What's the other strategy? Encouraging a two-way communication. As we say, as I say, communication is really important in giving feedback. At this point, we are at the same level. We look at each other. It's not a judgy kind of thing, where it's at that point where we look at each other as equals, right? I tell you something, you give me feedback, as I told Tom, although I never did it, I didn't do it really well because I never gave him an opportunity to respond to that. I only asked him. So we need to have a message and response kind of a conversation. That is the dialogue. We need to listen to them as they say. What are they saying? How is it affecting me? How can I respond to this? We need to be receptive. Receptiveness basically means putting yourself vulnerable or open to what they are actually telling you. If it's feedback that you're receiving, you need to be open. Don't be cagey. Listen to what they are saying, whether it's good, whether it's bad. You need to listen. Then it's up to you to make a decision. Am I going to implement the feedback that they've given me, or am I going to neglect it? Good feedback, you can actually notice good feedback because it's going to have ways for you to improve. It's going to have it's going to have key features that I covered earlier on, including some of them, like it's going to have a way for you to improve. How did it affect them? Who was affected? Things like that. So remember to keep a two-way communication and encourage it. Listen actively, create a dialogue, and be receptive and open to the feedback. Now, how do we overcome the challenges of constructive critique? There are challenges in the sense, as I said, constructive criticism or feedback is subjective. People know different ways of giving feedback, but there are those best ways to give feedback. But amongst all these, there are challenges that we need to overcome. Addressing sensitivities. So there are those areas that affect people. For example, I might be a slow I might be slow at typing. I might be fast at talking, but there's that it's affecting you in a certain way. So we need to address that. You need, if it's my weakness, you need to approach me in a way that sort of gives me feedback but doesn't make me feel embarrassed and let down or something. You need to make me feel appreciated first. The praise comes in there. And then you need to be specific by passing the criticism. And then you need to also praise me again. I'm not saying you praise me, but yeah, it's good. It's good if it's done like that, because as I said, you insulate the criticism so that this particular individual feels good about themselves and they don't lose trust in you. Build the trust. You cannot give feedback to someone who doesn't trust you, because if they don't trust you, how will they trust your feedback? So trust is essential. Clarity and context. You need to be clear to the context of your feedback. So we are talking about a certain project that we worked on together, but you end up giving me feedback about a project that you think or you would like for us to do in the future. Of course, the feedback needs to be about something that I did, but you need to talk about something that I can do to improve, but don't talk about a different thing to pass the feedback about a different thing. I don't know if I make sense. I know I might confuse a few individuals, but this is the best way to do it. Be clear in the context, build the trust, and address sensitivities. Now, we might not be able to cover everything in this particular workshop, and it might also be hard for you to digest everything all at once. This particular resource was instrumental in us creating this particular workshop, so you can look towards it for reference. Now, we invite questions, and we are going to try as much as possible to provide the answers to them as best as we can. To ask the questions, you can send those questions in the chat, and we will be happy to respond to them. Tom, would you like to finish it up for us?
Benson, that was a very, very wonderful presentation. I loved it, and thank you very much for standing in for me. Uh, I thank God we have a great relationship because we've been giving great feedbacks here at Jubix. It's
Exactly.
what has been helping us to thrive as an organization. We have a wonderful feedback culture. We talk within teams, we talk within ourselves, and we have a great relationship with our management, which helps the organization thrive. I also want to say thank you for the viewers for being here, taking the time to listen to our workshop and learn a thing or two. I also want to say thank you to Jubix for the platform for us to be here to talk to you about constructive critique. So from this point, I'd like to leave it to Amel. Amel, please over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Benson. You were both amazing. And it's really honest. It's not just a kind of feedback, maybe. But yeah, you were both amazing. As usual, I
Thank you.
learned a lot. Yeah. And if I would have to add anything, I would maybe say that it's always good to give a positive feedback. I mean, in the team, but if it's a negative feedback, it should be private. I mean, it's like a secret potion. Yeah. Now let's welcome our special guest to present himself. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Odwakesin.
Can you please give a brief presentation about yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Odwakesin. I'm a software developer. I work with White Label Collaborative. Yeah.
Welcome. So, do you have anything to add to what Benson and Tom said?
Yeah. Talking of how constructive critique is the backbone of a thriving organization. So, just to add to, or he has basically said everything, and I really like the presentation. So, just to add to that, I think mostly feedback should be bilateral in the sense that it's not just uh, the up level tier that is giving feedback to the workers. So the workers should have the opportunity to give feedback to their uh, managers or someone who is leading them as well, and saying, allowing them to air their views. So, like where I work, we have this meeting I have with like the top one of the lead developer that meet up with dev one-on-one, startup one-on-one. And
Mhm.
how are you doing? Is there anything bothering you? What's going on? Do you have any worries? Do something you need to fix? So aside from talking about work allows you to express yourself in terms of maybe some private things you would like to share. So it makes it bilateral, allowing you to really free and air your view in that way. Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Okay, thank you. Okay, so let's look if our amazing audience have some questions. I can't see any question yet. And I would like then to ask you about the topic. How do you think, how can constructive critique be used to drive innovation and creativity in the workplace?
yeah. So this like Benson mentioned, so having this constructive criticism, it foster progress, it foster kind of work balance, it foster uh, a balanced culture for both the workers and the staff, allowing them to do their work in a normal way. He showed a chart where you have a number of percentage leaving when there is a positive feedback, and some when there is a negative feedback, and when there is no feedback. So that clearly allows you to know that this is really, really important in the that it's really, really a backbone. Mostly, I forgot to add this, mostly in a a diversity of cultural where we have remote work, which is like the future of work, where you have people from diverse culture coming together to work together. So in my company, you're working with people from Indians, from Europe, from America. So what I think is okay for me, like talking to a fellow countryman, might not be okay for an Indian. He might not take it kindly the way I might
Yeah,
think it's okay. So understanding that diversity matters a lot in working with an organization that has different cultural diversity. So understanding that is a key also to foster that growth. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, it's divergent from a culture to another. Yeah. Okay, let's ask a question about leadership. I mean, and we have many team leads here from Jubix. Um, what role does leadership play in setting the tone for a culture of constructive critique? Can you hear me, Mr. Block?
Oh, okay. I thought you were referring to Russo. Okay. So so I would like to make an example. I like using situation to kind of analyze certain things. So while I was working with Microverse as a senior code reviewer, by the way, Microverse is a remote school. So
Yeah.
working as a senior code reviewer, so we have guidelines where you help junior code reviewers. We made some of those guidelines to help them while giving feedback. Speaking of code reviews and stuff, so while giving feedback, you don't give feedback as if you are making an order. So you are not ordering them change this code. This place is bad. No, you if it's possible, you put down some examples why you think they should change it, and it's important you first of all applaud their effort for making a great effort in writing the code they have written first, then talk about let me use an example. Hey,
Yeah.
you've done you've done an amazing work here with your code. I see you pick some lines of code that are really useful. I see this line is really amazing how you wrote the function here. I really love it. I think if you write it in this other way, it will save time and it will save speed. Maybe let's say you are using use effects, it will save a lot of time. Check out this article. It might really if you want to really read about more on how while using a certain method approach to solve this problem works, you could check it out. But outside of that, your code still works without refactoring. But if you look at this approach, it might be a lot better. So in that way, he or she doesn't see it as if I'm ordering him to change his code, but I'm pointing him to a direction that might be better, that could be better as a senior or as a lead person in this field. So he, like Benson mentioned, so the trust will come to play now, that he's trusting me to be the leader in this aspect, that knows, okay, a wonderful that is the leader in this aspect to know better than him. So providing him with further resources to confirm what I'm talking about help uh, kind of foster the encouragement. So leadership plays a very important role, like leading by example. So you're not just ordering around. So your constructive criticism, like I like the example Benson used, like medicine encapsulated within it. So it's when it goes in that he really knows, okay, this is what you are doing. Actually, putting him in the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you, and yeah, and I relate also because I worked also with microverse with the microverse as a code reviewer, and honestly, when we talk like that about giving feedback, it's easy to say, but when you are really giving feedback, it's challenging sometimes. You know, we're humans, and I don't know. Sometimes it's really challenging, and yeah, you can do it, and sometimes you can't really calculate how you are giving feedback. Busua, any other questions for our amazing panelists?
Yes, yes. So I want to ask a question. I think for us, particularly who are from Africa, would you say that African companies have a culture of open constructive critique? And if not, how can we promote it and encourage critique, constructive critique?
So Africa is large. Africa is huge. So uh, I would be speaking using Nigeria as a case study, for example. So at least I've worked with a few. So it's really hard, I would say honestly, to in terms of embracing the critique, the constructive criticism in the country. So you really have to be very watchful. You really have to really be constructive, really know how to engrave that bitterness within it. So it's literally not sin because you can raise red flag. You can even raise points that the help you think you were doing turns into something else. So, but I think with the future of work where you have us embracing uh, multicultural talents and having us going out there to work with and seeing how different culture are working has really enlightened us in such a way that it's really been great. So feedback, giving feedback, constructive feedback here hasn't been easy. One, some can easily mistake it for you want to prove you know too much or something. So it makes it really difficult. But uh, with the whole aspect of everyone embracing future of work, working with external uh, global companies has really enlightened us and brightened, changed the way we used to think about things in a way. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions, Busua?
No, I think that's all for now from me. Thank you, Mason.
Thank you so much. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah.
Or
So in order to add that, so still the case study of microverse. So we had this kind of I think Benson mentioned in his presentation about setting the right environment for this constructive criticism to thrive. So that is really, really important. So for using the micros, you working as a senior code reviewer, so we were like monitoring the junior code reviewer. So once in a while, we pick about 10 of their code reviews and just select random code reviews, each person, and look at what the reviews they gave to students and kind of re-review those their reviews and say, okay, I think you did not do well. This review you gave wasn't really that okay. It should have been a bit of this way, or you should have added some sort of example. So in that way, we are, as a senior code reviewer, we are like giving feedback to their feedback. So in that aspect, it helps them improve in their feedback. Just like Amel said, it's easy to talk about it, but giving it's something that could be difficult mostly. So you have to really be intentional about it. So creating a platform, creating a paradigm, an environment where this thrive, where if I, as a junior person, can walk up to a senior person and talk about my pain, maybe the way uh, person A is treating, I'm not really liking. Maybe finding a way to say that, having that free mind to say that without being penalized or something, allows everyone to grow in a way. Because when you take my feedback without any bias, and I take your feedback without any bias, so there will be room for each and every one of us to grow. So because I might give feedback and think I'm doing the best, but not knowing the person did not take it lightly. So if I get to know that works. So an environment where this thrives really matters. So no matter how you construct your feedback, if that right environment is not there, it could, yeah.
yeah, I totally understand you. I just would like to add that I don't know. From my experience, for example, here in Jubix, I've been here for a few months, and I don't know, we are here from different cultures, different countries, but we didn't. I mean, we have always this great feedback from our management team, from Susan or Donald, or for example, from our main up team lead Rankumar, or from Busi. I mean, it's always a friendly relationship where they give you feedback, but they value you. And honestly, it's one of the best experiences, work experiences in my life. So if I would like to add a small thing is always giving value, not only feedback, always giving positive feedback, even for really small things. So yeah, that's what I would like to say. Because when what's the word? I'm losing my word. But when a person is feeling valued, it will give the best. You know, even a small word can make a difference. Yeah, not only feedback about the work.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes,
absolutely.
I just want to add on to what Amel has said. I think it's really important also to focus on positive, constructive, not really critique, but encouragement, like she said, because sometimes there's a situation where your management team leader knows that you can do better, and perhaps in a given week or a given month you haven't performed up to par, and so they come to you and ask you, you know, this is not like you are top notch, you always produce great, excellent work. What is going on? And in that way, like she said, it's adding value, but also showing that you have empathy and you care about your team members.
Exactly. Let's call our
Absolutely.
great speakers, Benson and Tom here. Can you join us, please?
Hello again.
Hello. Do you have anything to add, Benson?
Yeah, potentially, like Ujwak said, the examples that he painted actually speak lots. They actually talk about the entire workshop that we've given here today. It's actually about uh, the emotions. You have to be vulnerable, meaning if you're vulnerable, there's a lot of emotions involved in feedback, so you have to be open to that. You have to That's why we have even the need for privacy while giving feedback. Some people, and I know we can all relate, some people can actually take feedback really really hard, and emotions come pouring out and all that. It would be embarrassing if that was in public. But if it's just the two of you, you would understand why that is happening, and you can actually accommodate them and tell them. That's where the praise comes in. You praised them at the beginning, so they were more receptive to listen to what you have to say. You told them the criticism, emotions poured out, but then you again praise them, so you calm them down, and they are now better people. They've actually listened. They've had, oh, I need to do this and this to improve. I can actually do this. So at that particular, those examples have actually painted a really big picture. And to the audience today, if you never manage to get the anything from the slides, get the examples that we've been given. And it's not something that is going to happen like that with the snap of a finger, but it's a skill that needs time to grow and improve. You need to practice it over and over again. So we see feedback as only essential in companies and teams, but also amongst friends, also amongst family members, also amongst neighbors. Feedback is really essential, because if you don't tell me how something I'm doing is affecting you, how else would I know? Right? So you need to first tell me this and this you're doing is affecting me in this and this particular way. But if you did this in this particular way, I think, or I feel I will be better, or we will have a better relationship, and we will reduce the friction between us. So that is why feedback is so important. It cuts across titles, it cuts across relationships, because it is the most important aspect, I believe, of human relations and all that. We will always step on each other's toes, but with that understanding where we give each other feedback, we learn to improve and make each other better. That's all I
Yeah.
have to say, Amel.
Thank you, Benson. And it's a part of the communication inside the company. And as we all know, communication is always the key of success of any relationship at work or at home or wherever it is. Tom, what do you have to say to say, please? Tom, you're mute. Tom, can you hear us?
I think he might be frozen.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back. Hello, Tom.
Tom, do you have anything to add?
Nothing really. What I like to say that I really love it that Benson has brought it home. Like we need feedback that more than just at work or in the organization, at home. Of course, I can't know something if you do not tell me, and that as well is very important. I'd also like to appreciate good work. Thank you very much. The examples were pretty great. It really fits what we're doing here today. I think that's it.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you
Now
very
let's
much.
go to Bosu, which have great news for us.
Thank you. So remember, for those that are watching for the first time, for every session that you attend of our webinars, of our workshops and webinars every Friday, you attribute yourself 15 points that will go to earn prizes and rewards when we launch Jubix next year. So every Tuesdays and Thursdays, same time, and Fridays as well. And also, we are launching officially our applications in January for companies and talent who want to join our GTLRA platform. Very important. Please take note of these dates. 8th January, we're saying we're launching our onboarding system, and you can apply to join Jubix. So keep sharing, keep promoting our workshops, and be sure to join and share with all your friends and family. So I think we've come to the end of our session. Unless anyone has some final words to say, I think we've come to a wrap up for today. Thank you so much, Mr. Eisen, for taking the time to come through and grace us with your presence and your contributions. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. All right. We've come to the end of our session. Everybody, thank you very much. And we're calling it a wrap for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.